And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger roll, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange! 145!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
The methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Well, it's Groundhog Day. Again. Welcome to Starlink 10-7 for the second time, as SpaceX is getting ready to launch another rocket of internet satellites into space. We are 59 minutes away from a hopeful launch here of this rocket, and after yesterday's scrubs, it seems like SpaceX is ready to try again. At least that's our information as of this moment. My name is Adrian Bile. I'm your host for today's Starlink mission that will launch here from 39A, and you can already see some early venting from the TE and the rocket being a bit of a live here. And joining me today is Mr. Trevor Zeshnik. Trevor, how you doing?
Yeah, it's another really early morning Starlink launch, so it's exciting that, they're so routine that I think that makes it exciting at this point. So I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely, and we will talk about what we know, don't know about yesterday in a bit. But first, let me also introduce Dee here in the field. Dee, lovely early morning to you here.
It is a lovely morning indeed. It's dark out, but the lights are up at the pad, as is the rocket. So, once again, I am looking forward to a launch.
I hope you're right. I hope we see a launch today. And I also want to introduce Jay here as the producer, also up and early here for this launch. Trevor, let me throw to you here. Yesterday, of course, we had the scrub, and what do we know? What's happened? Do we know anything?
No, unfortunately not. So yesterday, as you were saying, SpaceX had a launch attempt of this mission. I believe it was toward the end of their launch window yesterday, and they aborted at T-minus 46 seconds. And the only thing SpaceX said is that the vehicle and payload remain healthy. There was no additional reason given as to why they had to stand down. At that point, it is kind of interesting that's right when we would expect the LD to give their go for launch, and they didn't. So that could be a whole variety of things, but yeah, unfortunately, we don't know exactly what happened on yesterday's attempt, but it must not have been anything serious given that less than 24 hours later, they are in launch position again, hopefully about to go into propellant load in about 20 minutes or so.
Absolutely, and I think first off, I think the LD even gave their go for launch, and right after that, there was a scrub. So it was a weird situation because I don't know, the whole thing yesterday was a bit interesting to observe because of course before that happened we also have had them delaying all the way to the end of the window, and from at least what we can tell, it didn't look weather related. Like the weather was looking good from what we expect to be in a Falcon 9 corridor. So maybe they were working an issue all window yesterday and just couldn't fix it in time. Like basically coming down all the way to the wire, and then it was just no go.
And SpaceX also has this habit of generally, if it's a weather report, they'll say it's weather. And if it's a non-weather abort, then they're much more hesitant to say exactly what happened. But it definitely doesn't seem like it was anything big, but certainly a fairly uncommon Falcon abort, even though it does seem like we've had a few kind of quite a few aborts of Falcon in the last month or two.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I feel maybe there's also some extra precautions after what happened, of course, on that one curse Starlink. Maybe they're just being careful, right? Not want to lose another rocket. And making sure everything looks good and healthy. And they got enough launches to test. That's the good thing with SpaceX. They have enough launches to really check everything. Trevor, do you mind giving us a quick overview, by the way, what today's mission even is? What are we looking at?
Yeah, of course. So this is the usual Starlink mission from the Cape. Starlink, what a surprise, right? So obviously this is launching from historic Launch Complex 39A. I mean, can you even say LC-39A without historic at this point? And this will be launching 23 Starlink V2 mini satellites into SpaceX's Starlink Shell 10. And as Alex and I have been kind of complaining about, we don't really understand what the reason for all of these new shells are. There's a lot of shells that seem to be somewhat redundant. At least initially, we haven't been able to tell what the difference is. Maybe there's different hardware on vehicle or whatnot. None of these satellites have the direct to cell capability. These are all just the regular Starlink V2 mini satellites for the constellation. The booster that you see on screen is B1073-17. So that's supported, it's flying for its 17th time and has previously supported a large number of missions. Starlink 415, SES-22, 426, 435, Bakudu R Mission 1, Amazon Nexus, CRS-27, 62, a bunch of other Starlink missions, Bandwagon 1, and then, you guessed it, a few more Starlink missions.
It's a very even for SpaceX booster. This is a very heavy Starlink booster.
Yeah, I feel like all of the new boosters kind of are. They definitely don't have the interesting launch history that some of the old ones have.
Yeah, when they like launch like 2 crew missions or stuff like this booster is more. Yeah, I'm doing Starlink and some customer payloads. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, it started off on a Starlink mission. That's how you know it's not going to be an exciting life.
Absolutely.
Anyway, of course, they will be attempting to recover it for its 17th time. They have a shortfall of Gravitas about 600 kilometers downrange, and that was tugged downrange by Signet Warhorse the First. And then in support of both the drone ship and then recovering those 2 payload fairings is Go Cosmos. So while SpaceX continues to do work on Doug and Bob has previously supported the other Starlink mission, they're just renting this other boat for a little bit. In terms of stats, this is already SpaceX's 81st launch of 2024 if you include Starship. So certainly just kind of an insane cadence that we're talking about.
Yeah, the cadence is absolutely bonkers. Even with being grounded for what, like 2-3 weeks, it didn't stop them. It just
Yeah,
delayed them a bit.
There's that 2-week grounding, obviously after the mission failure, and then also about a month and a half before that or so, they had a 10-day span, if I remember correctly, without a launch. They had a bunch of weather delays, and then they had to launch stand down due to after engines started firing. So certainly been an interesting year for them. However, my launch estimates still put them close to 140 launches. So the way that I do it is I try to do it a little bit more advanced than just we are X percentage of the way into the year. They've completed 81 launches, so 81 over the percentage will give you, a linear estimate. I try to be a bit more advanced than that. So what I do is I look at data from the last 3-4 years of SpaceX launches, fit an exponential curve, look at how many days are left in the year, and then basically integrate this curve until we've reached the number of days in the year. So this has the advantage of taking into account all of SpaceX's improvements. And with this, I get, high 130s right about now for launches this year, which definitely passes my gut feeling of what I think will happen.
Yeah, I think somewhere between 130 and 150 will be probably the range where they will end up, and we will see exactly where. That depends also on stuff like weather, because if you lose weather related scrubs, that's always not great because you lose a day. Speaking of the weather, D, do you mind giving us a quick overview? What's your impression of the Cape this morning? What are we looking at?
Absolutely. It is a gorgeous, I'll say morning, but it is clear skies and stars out here. The weather is looking honestly fantastic for this mission. There's only a 5% chance of violation, which is basically as good as it gets, and that's for the cumulus cloud rule. There are low ratings for all of the additional risk criteria, including the upper level wind shear, booster recovery weather, and solar activity. So truly, the weather is about as good as it gets for a launch, especially during hurricane season where we're always getting afternoon showers. There's always going to be something that could cause an issue. So of course we've got that 5% chance of violation, but really the weather is looking fantastic. And as we speak, I'm starting to notice just the beginning signs of light to the east as the sun rises.
You can probably imagine, based on the sunrise just happening, what will be my next question about a very photographic topic. But we get a question here from Simon S. Could we see a jellyfish today?
Let me look up the exact sunrise time this morning. So sunrise is about 6:51 today. So we're going 20 minutes before sunrise. That seems like pretty good jellyfish opportunity. So I'm absolutely looking forward to this. Honestly, I was slightly dreading the early morning, but that question just lifted my spirits because we might get an absolutely gorgeous launch today.
Yeah, it like the humidity, of course, because it's still early in the morning, is a bit down, and everything is good on visibility. And now with the potential of a jellyfish, this might shape up to be something special from the visual perspective. So let's see if we get that. Let me thank some people here and then dive into questions. Remember, if you have any questions about this launch, about Falcon 9 in general, about SpaceX, or about whatever you want to ask us, make sure to tag @NASA Spaceflight in chat. We have a handy tool that makes sure that we see all of these questions and I can throw them to Trevor and D. Starting with some thanks here, though. Starting with Duthimer21 upgrading to Red Team. Welcome to the Red Team. Tervis becoming a Pet Rep member. And also Telstar86 gifting a Red Team membership. Thank you all for the early morning support. And I hope you will all enjoy the show. And with that, we start with some questions here, Trevor. With the first one, I already think is quite interesting. The Gambling Viking asking, do the satellites with direct-to-cell also function with normal Starlink terminals?
Yes, they do. So, our understanding of the way that these direct-to-cell satellites work is that they're basically a clone of the V2 Mini that SpaceX installs a bunch of additional hardware on to make it capable of acting like a cell tower for their direct-to-cell capability. So that said, we don't know, how much extra hardware they have to add for this capability. It seems like it's probably a fairly significant amount, but obviously not a huge amount, given that they're still able to launch 21 satellites. But yes, they are just totally normal Starlink satellites that have all of this additional hardware.
It feels more like this trade-off where they're like, oh, we cannot all do all direct to cell because that would just make the weight limit insane. So they just trade off how much they put on there based on what they need for the direct to cell coverage. And we also got an update here from Brevard EOC that have just noticed us on X that they have activated launch operation support in preparation for the SpaceX Falcon 9 launch, still with the window between 6:37 and 8:37 a.m., which is an interesting... I thought the window was longer.
SpaceX's website certainly, I
Yeah,
think it says it is.
9:41, the window on the web. So maybe there's some miscommunication between the two instances, or there was a window modification. We will see, but it seems that was just confirmed by Brevet AOC. So it seems everything is good for now, and we are just 10 minutes away from propellant loading. So cross your fingers that this indeed goes as planned. Another question here, which is about Starship, Trevor. How long
like
until Flight
Starship.
5?
Oh boy, that's the hard question. So I believe Elon posted on X the other day. Well, first of all, SpaceX said that they're ready for launch pending regulatory approval. I am skeptical of this claim, uh, especially given that a few days later, Elon said that they are about 3 weeks out from launch. So is that hardware readiness that he's expecting in 3 weeks? Is that regulatory readiness? It's not super clear. But I believe they're still doing work on booster and taking the time for they're taking the time to just do other testing, right? I think we're going to see a bunch of booster 14.1 testing this week. So my personal guess is that we're probably about a month out from Flight 5, if not a little bit more, just since SpaceX will want to keep doing some work to the pad, some work on both of the vehicles, and then of course they need that regulatory approval for if they plan on bringing back the booster, which they do as of right now plan on a catch attempt. So my guess is we're looking at about a month, if not a little bit more.
Yeah, sounds right up what I would expect. Somewhere in between like mid to late September.
Yeah,
If I
but
had
I
to.
believe later today we'll have Starbase updates, which I think that was Alex this week writing. Alex will give you some better updates as to what's exactly going on down in Starbase.
I heard Alex likes to write Stars updates. Probably a short version with Alex. So it's gonna be a short video. Okay, let's dive into this next one, which is a very interesting one. What is the general lead time required for a Falcon 9 Starlink mission now? Are regulatory requirements just copy paste at this point? I believe they're usually scheduled in batches, right? You basically see a bunch of Starlinks scheduled, and then they just go down the list, kind of, right?
Yeah, it's pretty weird because from the FCC side of things, I believe SpaceX now generally has just a perpetual license. Um, However, the thing that's super unclear about what, at least to me, about this is they do still seem to file for individual mission licenses as well. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't follow the like FCC permit side of things. Like there are a few others at NSF, like Alex and um, Danny and I believe William, that are kind of really into figuring out what missions are launching from these FCC permits. But I don't know. That's something that they can track. I have zero interest in tracking that. So that's my understanding of the FCC side of things. And then from the FAA side of things, right, they just have the Falcon 9 launch license where they are able to, assuming that each mission goes to plan, they're able to just keep launching without needing to update it. And right, this is what we saw with the Falcon failure. As soon as they had a mission failure, the FAA stepped in and said, hey, you can't launch until we have a good understanding of what happened. And then once they had that good understanding that there was no increased risk to the public, the FAA was like, all right, you guys are good to start launching again. And now SpaceX is in the works of submitting all of the final paperwork to clear out that investigation with the FAA.
Yeah, it's one of these things where I think the FAA at this point is very confident with Falcon 9 as long as everything goes well. And they are like, okay, as long everything goes well, we will not step on your toes. We saw this already with Starship, that they are licenses where basically they clarify, hey, without major modification of the vehicle, this is good for vehicles of the same spec and family. So I think we are talking about something like that. And again, it's usually it's quiet about the regulatory space of Falcon 9, and that's good, because if we don't talk about regulatory, apparently it's right now not a problem.
Yeah, right. I think there's kind of this information or wrong idea in the space community that like SpaceX has to fight the FAA for um, ability to launch, and that's really about as far from the truth as possible. Because the FAA has two jobs. The first job of the FAA is to keep the public safe, right? I think we all enjoy not having planes fall on our heads and making sure that our aircraft and spacecraft are up to standards to make sure that the aviation industry uh, is extremely safe. And then the other thing that the FAA has to do is they have to uh, make it so that commercial companies in the United States are able to thrive. And they really do both of these things. Right, they work extraordinarily close with SpaceX and Blue Origin and all of these commercial space rocket launchers to be able to write the laws in a way that maximizes public safety while also still allowing for innovation. And we've seen SpaceX, the FAA, they just released a whole bunch of new rules. I believe it was in 2021 for the space side of things. So the FAA, they're like one of SpaceX's biggest advocates, right? They want SpaceX to launch as much as they can. And the FAA has just been, wanting to make sure that they do it as safely as possible. So the whole narrative that they're at odds is definitely not true. And the FAA has been doing amazing work to help SpaceX out.
Yep, absolutely. They from everything SpaceX has ever said about the FAA, especially about Starship, they have a very good relationship with the FAA, and they are very closely working together. And also, Falcon 9 is one of the rockets, including also Alpha and Spaceship 2, that is now receiving and giving live telemetry to the FAA. So the FAA basically has the ability to live monitor these rockets. That's also another partnership that they have started with some of the launching rockets, including Falcon 9. So that's good. We have some more questions here. This is an interesting one. Pogoli, if Falcon 9 were to lose an engine on ascent, could they still get the payload to a nominal orbit? I think this question needs a lot of like ifs and buts, right?
Can and have.
Yeah.
Yeah. But basically the answer here is it depends when. And it depends on the payload, and it depends on the orbit. Basically, the heavier the requirement for the orbiters, and the heavier the payload, and the earlier in the ascent it happens, the chances of you getting to your nominal orbit are getting less and less, because you're losing energy, right? You're losing efficiency. You're going out of the optimal window. If you lose an engine like 10 seconds before MECO, that's probably even possible on a mission like Starlink today. But I wonder, especially with these requirements for these Starlink missions being so close, if you lose an engine like right at ascent, like close to liftoff, that's probably not great, especially for stuff like recovery operations.
Falcon is able to lose an engine off the pad and be able to complete any mission profile. This was kind of a design requirement, if you will, of Falcon, is that they wanted this engine out capability. And then later into flight, it can lose, probably 2 or 3 engines, and if it's late enough, be able to make up. However, it will not be able to land successfully still. So we saw this on, oh boy, what was there was 2 Starlink launches where they had an engine out during ascent, and on those 2 Starlink missions, they were not able to recover the booster accordingly. Even if it's not one of the landing engines that's out, it still precludes them from landing. So I believe that was, oh boy, Starlink V1.0 L19, and was it? Um, now my brain is failing me.
I can't not help you here. I'm very bad with remember mission names.
I believe it was Starlink V1.0 L5.
But yeah, if you imagine this whole problematic as like energy spent on certain parts of the mission, because that's at least how I always imagine it. Like you spend a certain percentage of your energy on ascent, right? And you spend a certain percent of energy on the re-entry burn, on the potential burn if they happen, boost back burn, and on the landing. And basically, as soon as you lose an engine, you lose optimal window, you lose efficiency. So what basically happens is you lose energy at the end first, kind of, right? You will not have enough energy left in your booster to complete the landing burn anymore. That doesn't mean you cannot complete the mission, because you can still have that energy to get to that point. But going down there somewhere, at some point you just run out of propellant because you burned more during ascent. And that's how like this just probably happens. It will start to basically eat at the end of your window or your end of your mission. So that's why SpaceX has quite an engine out capability on Falcon 9, and of course they still want to recover boosters, especially on the Starlinks. These Starlinks would probably not be economical that great if they would lose a booster every launch.
That's what. So I want to respond to that, but I also first want to point out we did just get very good news from SpaceX themselves that weather is looking good and propellant load has started. So let's keep an eye out on that liquid oxygen tank on Falcon for frost forming. We should be able to see that in the next few minutes. But now responding to what you were saying, that's what I really wonder about Amazon's Kuiper constellation, right? Originally, they're going to be launching on expendable Atlas launches and Ariane launches, and then eventually, once Blue Origin is ready to start supporting those missions, they'll finally be on a vehicle that's able to recover its first stage. That just does not seem like it's going to be able to compete with Starlink for a long time if your launch cost is so much higher to begin with.
I view it more as a early development program where they want to test they are willing to burn some cash on these non-reusable rockets to get constellations up and running and test. And I don't think as soon as New Glenn is fully up and running that Kuiper will launch on expendable rockets a long time. I think at some point they will phase it out. So, yeah. And we have good news. We have very good news, because what D is able to capture here is we have condensation on the LOX tank.
We sure do. Yeah, that frost will slowly work its way up the rocket as the liquid oxygen is filled and as it condensates and freezes the humidity from the lovely humid Florida air. And to just go over a little bit more, once we hit about the T-minus 20-minute mark, we'll get the famous 20-minute vent. That's when they are starting to cool down the lines and everything so that they can start the same sort of liquid oxygen load on the second stage, because you don't want to thermal shock that second stage. But we still have almost 12 minutes to go before that.
Is it just me, or is the TE exceptionally active today? Like,
it does, but doesn't it also look like there's a little bit of a frost line?
Yeah, I think it will be more visible today. It's because yesterday the visibility of the frost line was horrible with the high humidity. Like, we didn't see any frost.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is good. And just to point this out, if you're new to Falcon 9, this means we now launch in 30 minutes and 50 seconds, or not today. Because once Falcon 9 enters propellant loading, we are locked into this time frame. They cannot wiggle anymore, they cannot hold. That's not in Falcon 9's capability. It's basically this load and go rocket. And that's what will happen today. Either in 30 minutes and 30 seconds, the engines will light and this thing will take off, or they will have to scrub to tomorrow. That's what we are at now, which is a great news for people who want to sleep a bit later.
This is a interesting question for Alex, who I'm sure is listening. When was the last time that Falcon had a scrub and then recycled to launch again in that window?
Happened like very early, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know, like, obviously it happened before they switched to super chilled propellant, but I believe even after the switch to super chilled propellant, there have been a few times where the window's been long enough, but I could be wrong. This is definitely something that Alex will have to step in and educate me on.
Yeah, I bet he will go through spreadsheets right now. I'm not sure if he tracks that, but hey, you never know with Alex.
He doesn't remember. I
Ah.
stumped Alex.
Sharktail's asking, I have a friend going to Orlando on Wednesday for 2 weeks. What would be the best launch to watch while he is there? In 2 weeks from now, any recommendations to watch a launch, and also maybe where to
Where's
watch it?
Dawn?
So 2 weeks. I'd have to look at the schedule, but I know that we are getting close to Polaris Dawn, and depending on exactly how that lines up with your trip, that could be an absolutely excellent one to see. Human launches are always special, so that would definitely be my recommendation. But even if that one doesn't quite line up with that trip, look out for some Starlinks. There'll be something to watch. That is for sure. Almost.
There's
I can't
also
guarantee that, but
there's World Legion on August 15th, which is RTLS, so that would be a good landing to go to.
Oh, true. This might be a very good 2-week time frame actually to go to the Cape. Like, you get an RTLS, you potentially get a crew mission, you have some Starlinks in there. This might be a very good window, depending on how this all shakes out. So,
Yeah.
good luck to your friend.
I can formally announce, though, that Transporter 11 will not be launching on Friday because I am going to California to watch it, and I have a habit of cursing launches, so I'm sorry to inform you guys.
There we go. Yeah, didn't you manage to scrub like 3 launches the last time you were there?
Yep, and then that was Florida, and then I went down to Texas and for launch 4 of Starship, and no one saw anything.
Yeah, can you like not go to launches? It's apparently not going great. To be fair, at least you were not like Alex, and you managed to ground the Falcon 9 fleet. That's still impressive, by the way. Let's see here. Do we know the difference in cost between a Starlink satellite and a Kuiper satellite? I feel like based on the economy of scale, it's very much assumed that Starlink is dimensions cheaper than Kuiper. But besides that, no public information on cost of Kuiper, or actually also recent cost of Starlink. Like, we don't have actual numbers in recent times on both constellations, to my knowledge.
I don't think we will ever know the answer to that question.
Yeah, this is the rabbit hole I sometimes go down to, because if you ask me what would you love to know about the Falcon 9, I say the economy. I want to see like profit calculation. I want to see full cost of a booster assembled. Like that's my thing. I really wish we would see that, and I will never get to see it. It's the worst. So like I need like a proper audit. But hey, that's my problem. Let me thank some people here, starting with Flipper79. With the EA out, what's the fate of the Skrulls? it's a hard word for Germans to pronounce. I'm really sorry. Thank you, Flippers, and I don't think there's squirrels in Boca. Jack Oliver with a super chat saying, and what about the turtles? Turtles I can't pronounce. Turtles are fine. And also another super chat from Debra Jane. Thank you so much all for the support. And with that, we have some more questions here. Actually, that's an interesting one. More question maybe if about our backgrounds. The question is, do we work in aerospace, or is this more just a passion to commentate on this? At least I can speak for myself. I don't work in aerospace. This is more trained by watching and trained by observing rockets.
I don't think any aerospace company would let someone work for them and NSF. It's definitely a mutually exclusive thing. So no one here is. We've had many people go from NSF into the aerospace industry, which is always exciting. But definitely cannot work in the media while working in the aerospace industry.
At least not on rockets. Probably fine on planes, but not on rockets.
I mean, even then, I imagine companies would not be super stoked about it.
Don't know what's the opinion on Stoke about that. Sorry. Let's see here. Where were we in the countdown? 24 minutes. It's moving fast. It's going here, and we also can now see the gorgeous signs of sunrise here, which gives us like this is almost, I don't know why, but this view reminds me of the Falcon Heavy, because there were many of the sunrise shots with Falcon Heavy on the pad on that day, and of course like this whole contrast between a very bright rocket and a very still dark background. I don't know why, but it always reminds me of Falcon Heavy.
Yeah, there's just that really iconic photo from this angle of, ooh boy, was that STP-2? One of the early Falcon Heavy missions, there's like the iconic photo of it just standing there in front of a pretty sunrise.
Yeah, I remember that. I feel like it's very like this shot is very Falcon Heavy-esque for me, and I'm not a photographer nor a videographer, so I probably shouldn't talk about shouldn't talk about shots and what they remember me and how they're made of. But hey, that nobody can take the mic away from me. Let's see here. When SpaceX will bring down the ISS, will there be some sort of a burn up in the atmosphere? First off, very sad topic. Second, Trevor, will we see some, like, it will mostly be a burn up, right?
I don't know about mostly. Like, a lot of it is going to hit the ground, which is the whole reason why NASA is investing, the billions of dollars to be able to bring it down safely. So there'll definitely be a large amount of burning up on it, but there's also going to be a large amount of stuff hitting the ground. So this is going to be like probably one of the coolest comments that I mean, it technically is kind of a comment, right? That we can see. But yeah, that'll be a sad day for sure.
Yep, and it's approaching, right? It's like this thing that I feel like it's this thing that you always ignore that it happens, but then you see a contract for it happen. Then you see preparations and talks about it, and you're like, oh, this. I mean, the ISS orbit is happening at some point. It's not that far away.
You know what else is not that far away?
Starlink 10-7.
The T-minus 20-minute vent.
Oh, I didn't get that. Hey, Trevor. Now that we are approaching the T-minus, I was about to say T-minus 27 went, and I'm like, no, that's not the timing. Hey, Trevor. Now that we approach the T-minus 20-minute vent, do you mind explaining to our audience what they are about to see?
Yeah, so you'll see a large puff, a continuous large stream coming from the TE. And keep in mind that this is 39A, so it's not exactly at T minus 20 minutes and 20 seconds. I believe it's what, like T minus 20 minutes and 13 seconds, something like that. Um, and what this is them preparing the lines ahead of liquid oxygen load on stage 2. So the second stage, T minus 20 minutes and 26 seconds. Okay, thank you, Alex. So there it is, just on time. Um, so what SpaceX does to load the stage 2 is, right, they want to load that liquid oxygen as late as possible so that it is as cold as possible for launch. So since the tank is so small, they don't need to start loading until about T minus 16 minutes. So what this is just doing is it's cooling that line down, purging it for in preparation for that load. So at this point, RP1 load on stage 2 will have wrapped up. The RP1 right sits at roughly ambient temperature, same order of magnitude of a little under freezing, the freezing point of water. So negative, 5, 10 centigrade, something in there. So they're able to load on earlier just because the temperature difference, right, is so small, and the rate at which heat is exchanged is proportional to the difference in temperature. So you have RP1, you don't have to worry about it warming up too much. When liquid oxygen, you do. So therefore, they load it as late as possible, and that's what this vent is.
Yo, thank you for that explanation. And also a good sign here, everything is on track. So we are getting close to the business end of this countdown here. D, let me ask you a question here, because I know you're, to my knowledge, alone here today at the Cape. What's your that you'll probably mostly capture, but are you able to, for example, like record slow-mos while capturing, or is that like mutual exclusive? You can only do once at a time.
Oh, I certainly record slow-mos while streaming. I have a slightly different setup so that I can both stream and capture in log. I do want to note we are seeing some more like very wispy clouds in this morning light right now. So there are more clouds now than there were earlier, but it is still absolutely gorgeous out here. So currently I have two cameras set up, one on a wider shot, one on a tighter shot that I will be tracking on. And then, of course, we have all of our bot cameras being controlled from behind the scenes. And yeah, so I'll be capturing video on both of those, and the tracking camera I will be in slow motion on. So actually, this time around, I will keep my headset on during launch so I can keep up with you. And then the moment basically that I lose the rocket in the sky, probably right around stage separation, hopefully with this light, it'll be after stage separation well into flight. At that point, I'll be pulling the cards from my cameras, throwing it onto my computer, and I will be editing that slow-mo as quickly as possible in a couple minutes to send it off for all of you to see.
There we go. I'm looking forward to that as always, especially with this lighting today. I think there's a very good chance for some very, very cool shots. And I also want to quickly acknowledge that we also have Gage behind the scenes, who is always tracking and helping support these Cape missions, and also handling cameras in a robotic sense. So thank you, Gage, for always being around with these Starlinks. Let
Can you
me
just bring up
address.
again
But
how absolutely gorgeous this launch is looking like it's going to be? I mean, look at the
it's
sky already.
yeah, I feel like we are getting the optimal window here with 16 minutes to go. Like, you want a bit more lighting here until it gets perfect, and we are approaching that perfect moment.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's insane. Sorry, I'm just enjoying the views. Let's hope this stays, and hopefully it launches, because yesterday we were at this point, We were actually almost 15 minutes, more than 15 minutes actually, further, and then they scrubbed due to an unknown reason. But apparently they're confidently enough to try again today, and there's a good chance we will see a Falcon 9 launch today. I feel like that was just the biggest jinx I could have performed in my life by accident.
You also said the S word earlier on the stream, and I was gonna call you out on it.
Yeah, it's not my fault. If it doesn't go, it's my fault. That was too much. It happens. I also said it yesterday, I think, right?
At the very least, you sent it in the back channels, and I was sure to make sure that the channel knew you said it. It's all on you if it didn't go and doesn't go.
Yep, it's on me. We have now found the reason for the thing. So there you go. Pezzo di Pietra, I'm sorry, with a question here saying, did Kuiper launch on New Glenn? Why use other rockets when in a month from now they will have a working, hopefully reusable rocket? Trevor, why would you book more than New Glenn?
Well, first of all, let's, while New Glenn's first launch is in about a month, which is extraordinarily exciting, right? Side tangent, I've absolutely just loved the communication Blue Origin has been giving about New Glenn and the footage they've been sharing and all of this. Fantastic work. We love it. Please keep giving us more. Anyway, there's a huge difference between the first launch and having an operational vehicle that's capable of doing a large number of these launches. Right, New Glenn is still a few years away from being able to launch, 10, 12, 50 times a year, like they'll probably want for these Kuiper launches once they really get going. So while they're ramping up that launch cadence, they're going to want to be able to launch on other rockets as well, which is why we see that they've also booked I think a few missions on Falcon, and then a bunch on Ariane, and then quite a few on Atlas and Vulcan as well. So yeah, it's New Glenn is soon, but it's also not a month out from having a reusable rocket that is going to be operational.
Absolutely. It takes some time. And also, do not underestimate the size of New Glenn. It's always when people are talking about New Glenn, they're almost talking about it. It's like roughly Falcon 9. It's not. It's
like Falcon Heavy, but single stick.
Yeah, it's very. I think comparing it to a Falcon Heavy is way more accurate. It's a huge rocket. So, and yeah, as that comment said, because I saw some comments earlier about like, oh, they will never fly. Well, we see some hardware every day right now at the Cape, and they are apparently 1 to 3 months somewhere away from launch. So, I wouldn't go with the assessment that New Glenn will never fly. It seems very much that they're close. Isn't
there literally isn't Flight 1 second stage literally at the pad?
Yeah, I think D, is it still there? Like, do we know that if it's still there around there?
I'm not certain if it is still there, but I thought it was. Seeing even the Pathfinder in the port, getting a sense of scale for the size of the rocket really helps build a lot of hype. It's going to be a really cool one to watch once it does start launching, because anyone along the beach in the Cocoa area and south will have a front row seat for that mission. It's pretty close. The 36 is pretty close to Cocoa, and the pad is at a pretty prominent position. So you're not stuck looking over trees or anything like that. You just look over the ocean at New Glenn. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to confirm this again, there's the first rocket is at the Cape. Like, the booster, we know the booster is already there. We saw the interstage being tested thanks to the CEO of Blue Origin posting actually very cool footage of that. We know the second stage is there. We know a fairing is in the hangar. We know the engines are somewhere there. So it's just a matter of assembling this. But the hardware is there.
Yeah,
So-
I will say stay tuned to NSF's article site, nasaspaceflight.com, because this week we will have a update article on everything that Blue Origin has been doing at the Cape. And hint, it's been a lot, like a lot.
Yep, absolutely. It's I'm always looking forward to Harry's update articles because he spots things I would never spot. It's quite kind of insane. Let's mention some other person that is out here for us here today, which is of course Dr. W.D. Forney, our very own Wade here. Also being, oh my god, look at this.
Oh my.
That's ridiculous. Okay, yeah, that's certainly a good shot. So yeah, there you go. It's quite a view. That I'm looking forward to this to this launch. I'm looking forward to hopefully that we get viewing of all of these conditions, and if we get that, that would be quite amazing. And also, yes, it's orange. It's very much orange. Wow. I'm getting. I didn't think I would get hyped about the Starlink at the beginning, but with these views we are slowly getting, I am.
Yeah.
Let me quickly thank here Byteford gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Of course, a very common name we hear here supporting us all the time. Thank you so much, Byteford. And also everybody that just got these Red Team memberships, please make sure to thank Byteford. Archie asking, will we ever see a Falcon Heavy dual drone ship booster landing?
Yes, we will. Not the next Falcon Heavy. The next Falcon Heavy is fully expendable, but one of the ones shortly after that will be double ASDS and expending the center core.
That's so cool. I hope they have some good cameras for that. That's gonna be amazing. So
I really hope they do too.
I always am sad, by the way. But go ahead.
No, I was just gonna adding on to that question. I'll be curious to see how far apart they space the drone ships. Like, will it be right next to one another, like the two LZs are? So will it be possible that we'll like see one drone, like both drone ships in both of the cams? Because that would be so amazing. Or are they going to kind of try to space them out a good bit more?
If they are in one view, I bet you that SpaceX will have like a camera drone up and capture it, because that feels like a very SpaceX thing to do.
Yeah.
They love to use camera drones. I feel like with Starship they use them more and more.
Yeah, they for real. It is also, I mean, as a rocket fan, we obviously love it, but it's such an easy way to get good media. Like, just post really cool content, and whether you're Blue, SpaceX, anyone, just post really cool content of your vehicle, and people are going to love it no matter what. Like, it's the best advertising you can do.
It's such a cool angle. It's like filming an object that is flying while flying. It's such a unique thing to do, and I love drone shots. We should. It's not a very specific question about that, but we should talk about like the general fact that Polaris Dawn is just 2 weeks away. Hopefully, this mission still feels bonkers to me. Like, Polaris Dawn in its whole thing, what it will do, doing a private EVA, it doesn't feel real.
No, but it is. It's very exciting.
Absolutely.
It really feels like the whole Polaris program to me really feels like a huge turning point in spaceflight, since it's now going from government agencies doing this to someone who is a very, very well-trained pilot and very, very wealthy. So it's like still elite at this point, but it just shows that it's going from the government to commercial is just such a humongous step. That is very exciting to see.
Yep, it's almost like a privately owned space program, kind of, and
Yeah.
And they're doing EVAs. Like,
yeah.
It's crazy to say that.
It's like they're doing EVAs with a private mission. It's what? How? It's gonna be. But by the way, fun fact: NSF will cover that. Spoiler.
Yeah, I will
But,
be here. One way or another, I will be here.
Yeah, I feel like there's no way we're gonna miss that. So
I can't even
yeah.
imagine how stressed out all of the SpaceX employees must be. For any SpaceX employee watching, we're rooting for you, and it'll be exciting. Thank you for all your hard work.
Yep, absolutely. Speaking of hard work, they're just 5 minutes away from launching another piece of their hard work into space, which is, of course, Starlink 10-7. Quick recap, the rocket is being fueled. We have 23 more internet satellites on top of this rocket. And the booster for today's mission is B1073, which will fly for a 17th time. This is the next launch for the Starlink constellation, which of course is providing internet satellites or like internet services all around the globe. And in just 4 minutes from now, they will hopefully improve that coverage once more. And we now hear the rocket venting. We'll now also hear SpaceX comms, so get ready for the countdown net to call out some things. But yeah, looking good so far. Everything. Remember, we were at 46 seconds yesterday with the launch director already confirming go for launch, but then mentioning stop. Engine chill at this point is also on the way on the 9 Merlin engines at the bottom of the booster. Trevor, quick words. What's engine chill?
Yeah, so what SpaceX is doing is they're running a little bit of liquid oxygen through all 9 of the turbo machinery on each engine. And what this does is just helps bring them down to closer to that temperature of liquid oxygen. Right, that liquid oxygen is sitting at about minus 210 degrees centigrade. And right, the engines before this started happening, wow, that's a gorgeous shot.
Wow.
Is at room temperature or so. So the last thing that you want is to have your room temperature engines be in contact with liquid oxygen that's minus 210 degrees, because that will do, that will cause the liquid oxygen to flash into a gas rapidly expanding and will cause damage to the engine. So they want to avoid that. So they chill them down. And we also see at this point that the water tower is doing its signature vent of overflowing, which is intentional and signifies that it is all filled and ready to support today's launch.
Yep, and the strong bag is also open and retracting. So everything's looking good here. The next step in the countdown will be the flight computer taking over the countdown at T-minus 1 minute. That's basically where the Falcon 9 onboard flight computers will take over the countdown management, and the Falcon 9 will enter startup period. Shortly after that, at T-minus 45 seconds or so, there we go, the SpaceX launch director will verify go for propellant, go for launch. And from there on out, it will just be Falcon 9 managing itself and hopefully launching with the engine controller command engine ignition sequence to start at T-minus 3 seconds. And then hopefully we have a liftoff at exactly 0, which I like. I like when rockets actually lift off at 0. I like that timing.
Gas launch closeout.
That is nice. And we've got that venting that we're used to seeing. So I'm going to go hands on my camera now and get ready to track this thing.
Good luck tracking D.
Thank you.
that we are now close to the 1 minute mark. Again, that's the next call out will be Falcon 9 is in startup. There you can see it, the rocket on the pad.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Go. Next up will be the go for launch from the launch director.
LD, go for launch.
There we go.
You've made it further than yesterday.
And with that, just 30 seconds to go here on the countdown of Starlink 10-7. Watch for the bottom of the rocket where we see the deluge system of Pad 39A spool up in preparation for the Merlin engines to ignite. That will happen roughly less than 10 seconds. And then we will see a green flash. There's the deluge system. First a bit slower and then fully ramping up in a bit. There's the ignition. And we have a liftoff of Starlink 10-7 carrying 23 more internet satellites for the Starlink constellation into their 10th shell. Let's wait for the sound to hit our microphones and listen in. I think it's time for us to return here to the commentary. What a gorgeous launch. Look at that. Oh, that looks perfect.
As I said in the back channel, 1 weekend, 3 launches.
And now you can see the exhaust really getting illuminated by the sun now. It is clearly directly in the sun. So I'm going to switch to the other camera after a while here and try to get some more shots, because this is going to continue to be gorgeous.
Absolutely. So far, everything looking good here. The Falcon 9 is now going downrange, and we will now see the event called First Stage Main Engine Cutoff, called MECO, which will happen in just a few seconds from now. Should happen actually any second. There it is, shutting down all 9 Merlin engines, and the first and second stage now separate. And the second stage ignites for an event called SES1. And look at that. Wow.
I think the fish is jelly.
Yeah, the fish is very much jelly. Oh, look, you can see the booster.
Yeah, and we should be able to see the fairings deploy.
Now.
Yeah, keep an eye out. There should be an additional few halves.
I think we can see them. I think I just saw them. Yeah, there they are.
There they
That's
are.
the fairing halves. You can see the whole rocket now separated into 4. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, we expected some good views, and this was not disappointing.
No, this was not.
I
Look at the
love
puffs.
watching the RCS puffs on the first stage, especially.
This looks insane. There you can see the vapor trail from there. Of course, now the booster will start to steer itself and align itself for the entry burn, which will happen at 6 minutes into flight, 6 minutes 4 seconds, while the fairings are also steering themselves for re-entry, and they will be fished from the water once they splash down successfully. And the puffs you can see are the RCS, that's the reaction control system of the rocket, where they basically steer the rocket using some thrusters, and what you see are the puffs of these thrusters. And that RCS is also present on the booster, on the fairing, and on the second stage.
Yeah, right. As the environment changes, they change what their attitude control is. So obviously, while the engines are firing, the engines are going to be the primary source of attitude control. But then when they're high up in the atmosphere, like they are now, your primary source of, and your engines aren't firing, your primary source of attitude control are those thrusters, since those grid fins do not have, there's basically no atmosphere for those grid fins to control, bite into, if you will. Wow, these shots are just insane.
Yeah, even without a rocket launch, this would be amazing.
Yeah. So when it's in the upper atmosphere, they really rely on those RCS thrusters. But then after the entry burn, as the atmosphere starts getting exponentially thicker again, they're able to use the grid fins then as the primary source of attitude control until engines are ignited, and then the engines and grid fins work together to bring the booster hopefully to a soft landing on a shortfall of Gravitas.
Both vehicles continue to follow
And-
a nominal trajectory.
That's good. And remember, and we will be careful for that, with a shortfall of Gravitas being out today, there's a good chance we will get landing audio again.
It's cool that SpaceX added that.
Yep, it's such a neat thing. And you can see now the velocity difference between the two stages, left on course. There we go, that's the entry burn. Look at the speed of the
I found
first
entry
stage in the
burn.
bottom left. There we go. 6,000 kilometers an hour.
Stage 1,
And
entry burn
stage-
shutdown.
There we go. That looks good. And next burn for this booster will be the landing burn, which will start up at 7 minutes and 47 seconds. So just a minute from now, where it will hopefully land on a shortfall of Gravitas. And again, we will be quiet for that landing because we want to also hopefully hear the landing audio.
Both stages are following
Everything
a
look-
normal trajectory.
Everything good so far. You can now see the grid fins and the aerodynamics kicking in on the booster as it hits the denser part of the atmosphere, and you now can really see how it interacts.
Yeah, you can always start to see a little bit of oscillation. It goes from hyper to supersonic.
Stage 1, transonic.
That's a very hard aerodynamic region. Now we're about to be subsonic.
Yeah, you can see the wind interacting on the grid fins sometimes.
Yeah,
There
so
you
now
go.
pay attention kind of by the left grid fin. We'll see the drone ship
Stage
kind of
1, landing
appear.
burn.
There we go, landing burn.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Stage 1, landing leg deploy.
It doesn't seem we get audio this time.
Stage 1, landing confirmed.
But a successful landing we have. That marks SpaceX's 338th booster landing and 264th consecutive landing.
Absolutely wonderful. And the speed of the second stage now accelerating even more, but should be coming up on the cutoff of the second engine stage at any second now. There we go. MVAC shutdown with 27,304 kilometers an hour.
Wow,
And
that was gorgeous.
absolutely. There we go. Empty pad, strong back venting. And sometimes, if we are lucky, they will start to raise the strong back again while we are still looking at it. It tends to happen very fast.
Yeah, my guess is the next mission from this pad is probably Polaris Dawn. Now I have to check next spaceflight to see if I am correct or not.
Yep, Alex confirms Polaris Dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And friendly reminder, D's already working in the field to see if we have some nice shots and replays. So stay tuned for that. We will make sure that if we can, we will show them here. So stay around for that. I bet with D's morning angle, there will be quite a show if there was something nice captured.
By the way, we're talking in the back channel, and it's probably worth pointing out. You can really see, because right, you could see in the water a little bit of like the booster's exhaust causing some hitting the surface or whatever. That just highlights how insanely steep of an angle these boosters are coming in at. So even with that, they nailed the bullseye on today's mission. So that's totally normal. It's nominal. It's nothing to be worried about.
It's almost like this last second correction, right? Where they come in and it looks like it's not gonna make it, and then they always have this very aggressive final pitch into vertical position.
Yeah. That's gonna be properly bananas to see when Super Heavy is doing that. Because Super
like it.
Heavy, yeah, literally Alex said it right as I was saying that. Super Heavy is going to be an even steeper angle for landing because it has those chines, whatever they're called, that will give it a little bit more lift than Falcon has, in addition to just being bigger overall. So that's going to be a crazy landing.
I'm looking forward to probably have a shirt in the store or something that says "properly bananas." I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, also New Glenn. New Glenn has quite a cross-range capability as well, so that's gonna be crazy as well with these two giant canards.
Chris and Dream Chaser.
Yes, and Dream Chaser. Absolutely. Let me thank some more people here because we got some memberships gifted, starting with Alan Ivan Blazekovic, sorry. Gifting 5 Red Team memberships. I'm very sorry. It's very early for me. Thank you so much for the support. And also Apocalypse Cow, Danger Moo with 5 Red Team memberships as well. Thank you both for the very generous support, and I hope everybody enjoys the perks. And I'm also sorry again for mispronouncing your name at the beginning. Yeah, looking at the TE here, if it's already starting to move, not yet, I think. By the way, you can already see, Alex pointed that out for me yesterday, you can already see the top of the strong bag that will be attached to it now for Polaris Dawn. It's on the right side, next to that. Yeah. Next to the frame that will actually hold the TE. That's the almost these claws that will hold the TE. And next to that, that's the top part that will be attached to the TE for Dragon missions.
Yeah.
So there you go.
39A is going to be pretty busy with conversions for the next couple of months because, right, as I was mentioning, this will be the last normal Falcon 9 launch before Polaris Dawn. So they'll start conversion to that crew Dragon configuration. And then after that, they have about a week, I believe, to get Polaris Dawn off the ground from 39A before they need to start preparations for Falcon Heavy, because NASA and SpaceX want a pretty large window to convert for Europa Clipper, just in case anything happens, since that's a launch window that SpaceX has to have the ability to hit. And then after that is when we'll see single stick Falcon launches again with fairings. And speaking of fairings, on the right, there's Bob returning with the fairings from SpaceX's Starlink Group 8-3 mission, which launched on August 10th, just 2 days ago.
Yep, and the next launch from the Cape coming up in 3 days from now with Worldview, Legion 3 and 4, which of course is an LTLS. And by the way, if you guessed it already, that will be a launch that NSF covers. Like everything.
Like, if we're here for a late night, middle of the night Starlink, we're going to be here for an RTLS. That is for sure.
D, are you happy with being out there for this morning, by the way, now that you got the views?
Yes, I'm actually so glad I am out here right now. Every launch is good. Even the worst hour getting out here for a Starlink. But this one, the light was gorgeous, and I just finished a quick export of slow-mo. I want to spend even more time on it with the coloring and stabilization and everything. But that footage is now sending. So
wonderful.
I look forward to sharing that.
Absolutely.
And Alex is saying in chat, the little bit of fire that you see, that is normal. That is the T-tab burn off. So they intentionally light that just to make sure that there's no T-tab left. So when crews start arriving to the pad, for some reason they don't want to be inhaling T-tab.
Is that strong rate going up? It's going up, right?
Yeah, it's almost all the way up now.
Wow. They're fast. They really don't want to lose time. So there we go. Fairings returning, booster launched, booster landed, TE going up. It's SpaceX is not that lazy, it seems.
Not that lazy, it seems, as they've had 3 launches this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one way.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's one way to describe what they've been doing this weekend.
Where's the other fairing?
That's what I was just wondering. It looks like this could be a rare loss of a fairing half.
Yes.
Even this one, am I crazy, or does this one look damaged?
Could be.
Doesn't it kind of look at the backside? Doesn't it kind of look like it ends too early, or is this just the angle it's coming in at?
It could be the angle, but it could also be a bit dented. Almost.
Well, it's worth keeping in mind that it was recovery conditions that were the concern.
Yeah.
So if it is damaged, that the seas, the aftermath of the hurricane and tropical storm would likely be a reason for that.
Can we go back to that shot one more time? I think we saw the second fairing. If that's possible, Jay. I'm not sure if that's possible. There, on the left side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right side is the first fairing, left side is the second half. There we go. Both fairings are
left
lowered.
one definitely looks to be in fine shape. The right one, I'm still not sure about.
But we can lower the alert meter here. Be good. We have 2 fairing halves. So
Do they normally come in uncovered now?
I think it sometimes just happen.
Okay.
Alex thinks they're both fine. So there we go.
That's good.
Okay, we are starting with replays here, and the slow-mo replay will be the very last one when we get to the end profits. But here we go. That's one of the bots. Static bots. Look at that. That looks absolutely fantastic in the light. Here's another further down angle. I'm looking at the sky and not the rocket, I have to admit. Wow. It's almost the same color of the sky and the engine plume.
It's camo.
Yep. Look at the reflection. And I think this has one has sound.
Yeah.
Maybe it has sound. I think it has sound. Yep.
And you can see
Wonderful.
that shot is on a locked off tripod, but the roof here gets shaken so much by the sound. Like there was no wind, that wasn't changing anything. That was actually the roof just shaking by the sound.
That's incredible. Like, I bet it's quite amazing to experience that rumble.
Oh, absolutely. Every time.
Let me start here to thank some people, because I feel like we are 20 minutes past the launch. We are arriving at the end of our coverage for today. And let me first thank you here, Trevor, for being out with me here this morning. I know you love early morning wake ups, so glad to have you around here.
Hey, I mean, honestly, getting up at like 3 is way better than getting up at like 5, in my opinion. So it was a pleasure to be here and see you guys whenever the next SpaceX launches, which is in 2 days. So not long to wait.
Absolutely. And also let me thank you here, D, for rolling out here early in the morning and getting us these amazing pictures.
Always so happy to be here, and this one in particular was wonderful.
Let's hope we get even more wonderful launches. Look at sorry, I was interrupted in this outro here by this shot. Is that Dr. WD-40? I'm not sure, but I will thank you.
No, that's actually my shot. I angled over towards the sun.
Oh, perfect. But I still want to use this also to thank Dr. WD-40 for also rolling out and giving us amazing pictures this morning. Thank you so much for that, and for being with us here this morning. And then, of course, we had in the back channel making sure these amazing pictures are properly assembled and look nice here for you as well. Jay Keegan, who was the producer for today's launch. Thank you so much, Jay. And we also had Gage in the background tracking with one of our robotic assets and making sure that we get additional views of this gorgeous launch. Thank you so much, Gage, as well. And I'm Adrian Bile. I'm your host for today's mission. It was a great pleasure to be here with Starlink Tender 7. And I'm looking forward to, talk more about rockets in the upcoming days. With that, let's watch the slow-mo footage from D here, and we will see you all the next launch.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, planet.
Water towers, fly!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting outside of feed off. Say again, SPE off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Décollage. Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
If the methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?